Well, would you look at that? A 2025 money video. No doubt you've seen some of these pop up in your recommended feed lately. The new year is often a good way to start fresh. Ideally, you start fresh when you feel like it, rather than waiting for some calendar date. But any reason for improvements is a good reason. Most people's goals involve something like being more fit, hanging out more, and another is usually becoming better with money. So in this video, I'm going to show you my budget template for 2025. I made it myself from scratch. I didn't modify any existing templates. I legit made it from scratch. Now, somehow, I never had one of these before. I was never reckless with my money, and I have tracked groceries and fuel, as well as spending on investments like stocks or a business, and cosmetics such as Botox or laser hair removal, but never all in the same sheet. And I never included absolutely everything such as Apple storage, my phone bills, car parking, car registration/insurance, even the breakdown of exactly what my groceries are. So, in 2025, we're changing that. We're tracking everything. It'll be interesting to see how much money leaves my bank account in 2025. So here is an overview of my new Excel budget template. I'll go through everything in this video. I'll also give some juicy Excel tidbits too. Normally, you'd have to pay for some of these tidbits in some course, but since I'm a nice guy, a chill guy, who just wants to provide value to his YouTube audience in exchange for their subscription, hint hint, hint hint, I'll share these tips with you for free. So first, how am I doing this? How am I able to scroll down on the document and have some parts stay the same? It's called a freeze pane. Go to View, Freeze Panes, then click whichever option you want, play around with it. I also formatted each cell to show the number as currency. That way it looks more tidy than just being a random number. Next, what's with the green cells and the white cells? The green ones are totals for a certain category. Example, groceries or car. They will tally up anything listed underneath them. A lot of rows near the bottom of this sheet are calculated individually. Stuff like social events, each of my 2 phones, work clothes, tax payments, etc. These don't really need their own category in my opinion. On that topic, what's this? How come you aren't allowed to edit these green cells with formulas? No matter what you're doing on screen, you can't change this. This is a nice way to protect your formulas so no one messes with them. But how are you doing this? What you do is click Ctrl-A, which selects your entire Excel sheet, or click the top left arrow, it does the same thing. Then right-click, Format Cells, go to the Protection tab, then Make All Cells Unlocked. Then go back to the specific cells that have formulas, do the same thing we just did except make them locked. Then, click on Review, Protect Sheet. Leave the 2 default options that should be selected, locked and unlocked cells, then make your own password. Reconfirm that password, and voila! Now no one can mess with these formulas unless you unlock the worksheet. For any of my fellow accountants out there, this is a good way to have even more secure employment. We're already in a pretty stable industry, but you can make it even more stable by locking the Excel sheets at work. Like, I don't know, if there's some report, you can Ctrl-A, cover the whole Excel sheet in like a black color or something so you can't actually see it. Lock the worksheet. Then the only way you can see what's in that Excel sheet is to unlock the worksheet and change the color formatting, for example. That way, if for some reason you get the sack, they can't access any reports without your password. They'd have to hire you back as a consultant to unlock these sheets. The reason you have to format the cells first is because if you lock the entire sheet without doing this, then Excel won't allow you to change any cells at all. So you'd have an Excel doc that you can't edit. Pretty pointless, but like I said, this could be a way to, I suppose, in a way, have some leverage over your employer. Like, I'm the one with the password to all these sheets, so if you get rid of me, you're getting rid of all these reports too. Next, here I am typing in 69, lol, so funny, for my red meat cost in week 1 of my grocery trip. But it's coming up with this error message. Expensive. Bruh, you finna be broke for real, no cap, #skibbity. Is there a new version of Excel in 2025 that's installed brain rot? Has AI gone too far? Well, AI, Asian intelligence, which is me, I'm part Asian for anyone who doesn't know, has gone too far, but what this is data validation. Basically, if I've entered a figure that I've deemed excessively high, I get this error message. For me, somewhere between $45 to $50 in beef for 1 week should be enough. If I'm buying more than $60, then it's either on special, and that means I've bulk bought heaps, or I've mistyped the figure. So to get this, go to data validation again. Now for allow, click the drop down for your options. Click whole number. Then for this one, it's less than. I had less than $60. So for that particular cell, or cells actually, any figure above $60 gets that error message. Then go across to error alert, choose your style. My last style was a warning option. Then type your title and error message. Easy done. Next time you try to enter a figure that doesn't match your criteria, you'll get that error message pop up. Next thingo, the cells in the grocery category. Why do they all have dotted lines down the middle? Well, because they all have a conditional format. What I've done here is go to Home, Conditional Formatting, Data Bars, and I selected the red color. So what will happen here is the cells will become a red color whenever I type something here. But the larger the value, the more red that will cover the cell. The cells will be compared to each other in the grocery section. It's basically a visual cue to see where I end up spending the most on my groceries. You can see me typing in heaps of figures here and how it alters the cells in this sheet. Chances are it'll be my tuna and red meat that will be the most expensive. Eggs would be my most expensive item, but I live in the middle of nowhere with my parents, for now. My house is going to be built in 2025. So since we're in the middle of nowhere, there's lots of land, meaning there's room for chickens, meaning they lay eggs, meaning I don't have to pay for eggs. So my eggs are free, thankfully, but I pay for it in terms of petrol and commute time since I'm so damn far away from anything. Okay, last Excel freebie for you before we get to the breakdown of this document, the blue cells at the top. Basically, this is a summary for my spend for 12 specific categories. I've just done 12. I could do the whole thing, but for the sake of this video, we've got 12 here. The formula in these cells basically captures any figures that relate to one of these words. So watch this. When I put in a number that impacts the car spend, it updates in the blue cells. Same with everything else I do. So instead of manually going through it at the end of the year, I can just look at this section here. The dollar signs in this formula are designed to create absolute references or lock in certain values. What happens in Excel is if you drag a formula, it'll also drag down the reference cell. But in this case, we don't want that. We want certain cells to stay put. So adding a dollar sign in front of each letter and number in the cell reference locks it in place. You could do a VLOOKUP as well, but for this Excel doc, I've just done a SUMIF. Okay, that's enough free shit for you. Usually you'd have to pay for this kind of stuff, so you're welcome. I've seen some YouTuber dude once who was selling his Excel docs for like $40. $40 bloody bucks on Etsy. They weren't even anywhere near as detailed as this either. What? Who's paying for this? I also have seen like these budgeting girlies on YouTube who will also sell their Excel docs on Etsy that have way less detail than this. Maybe they're the smart ones. Here I am teaching people how to do stuff for free when I could just be selling it to them instead. I'm losing a lot of money by doing this, so I hope you appreciate my generosity. So let's get into what's involved in this sheet. Fuel, self-explanatory. I've already been tracking this, but like I said earlier, I've never tracked it all on the same document. I drive past literally 11 to 12 different fuel stations on my way to work. And I'm not joking, 11 to 12. So I'll always opt for what's cheapest. The one I've gone to lately is charging $1.66 per litre. Another one closer to work is charging $1.61 per litre. So now I go to that one. Fuel in this country is outrageous considering our natural resources. Leithfo does a good job of breaking down the craziness of Australia's energy policy. We're basically sending more than we need to China/Japan, and they're selling the excess energy they got from us for a profit. Meanwhile, on the east coast of Australia, we have to pay top dollar for fuel. Our resources minister, the Mad King, also doesn't give a shit. She is aware of this and just doesn't care. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere that Australia actually imports some of its energy. That'd be like Saudi Arabia or the United States having to import fuel instead of making it themselves. Wild. You can go check out his channel for the info, but the fuel we pay here is madness considering our natural resources. I spent more than $3,600 last year on fuel. It's mostly because I have to commute an hour each way to get to the office, which I can't work from home from. Shake my fucking head. But whatever, we'll see how much I spend this upcoming year. Next, groceries. Also track this, but never broke it down like this before. Everything here is basically what I always eat. I basically eat the same thing every day, unless there's free snacks at work / I go out for dinner for a social event or something. The diet I follow basically contains every vitamin / mineral you need. Yet another juicy bit of info I should be selling instead of giving it out for free. But there's a reason that all of these specific foods have been listed. It's because I always eat this stuff. I also have a skincare routine, so that's why face wash and stuff are also included, since it's a continuous thing. I do have a line for miscellaneous items though. Maybe for some reason I'll buy something else, which happens, so I do have a misc items line for that. Next section, car. I suppose fuel should go here, but my two main areas of focus throughout the year are fuel and my grocery cost, so that's why I put them at the top. But this car section includes my car registration, insurance, mechanic fees and parking, since I need to park in the nearby city after work to get laser hair removal / hang out for social events, etc. I never really included this, but I figure I should start tracking it. It might be interesting to see how much I'm spending on this stuff. The mechanic I use is a mobile mechanic. Not sponsored, but I use Lubemobile.
There's just one thing you need to do on 133032. For everything mechanical, we've got it.
They'll fix the car.
Lubemobile will come to you. 133032.
That's 133032.
Lubemobile will come to you. 1332. That's 1332. If you're an Aussie born in the 90s, you 100% have that jingle stuck in your head. For the longest time, I always went to an on-site mechanic. The old mechanic I went to throughout uni retired. He was a former high school friend of my dad's, I think, or they somehow knew each other from high school. He was super cheap. It was great. But he retired. He retired early due to some local dog barking its head off during the day, and he'd hear it constantly at his workshop. And the council wouldn't do anything about it since the owner of that dog was buddy-buddy with someone at the council. Classic government, always helping out their buddies but not anyone else. Watch this video get shadow banned just for that comment. So, since he retired, I had to go elsewhere. So I'd go to a mechanic not far from where I work. However, since where I work at the office is like in a nearby coastal sort of town, shit's expensive. And it was a pain trying to get work to pick me up / drop me off every time I had a car service. But then I was driving on the way to work and there was a Lubemobile van near me at the traffic lights. Then that stupid jingle popped back into my head. And I'm like, you idiot. All this time you could have had someone come to you instead of going to them. So now I use them, a mobile mechanic. He gave me like $52 off my last service, which was nice. Until you realize the service still cost $1,700. I know nothing about cars, so I don't know if he's ripping me off or not. Seems like a good bloke, but life is like a sandwich. No matter which way you flip it, the bread comes first. So he's got to get his bread before he's going to make a new friend. You could say, why don't you learn about cars then? The answer is simple. My expertise is in the career, money, fitness field, which includes everything about the corporate world, taxes, investments, stocks, retirement funds, real estate, nutrition, human anatomy, etc. A more efficient use of my time is to keep improving on those already established skills. It's why pro sports players have financial advisors instead of learning about it themselves. They're better off doing more practice games than sussing investments. It's why large business owners have accountants/lawyers. They're better off improving their business than researching tax/investment strategies themselves. Same with me. I'm better off improving on my current skill set. And even then, I get like 2 services a year. In 2024, it cost me about $2,000 to get my car serviced in total. Even if I somehow skimmed $500 off of that, all that extra time spent learning about cars would not be worth the $500. I'm literally better off just working a few extra nights at the wagey job. I can assure you, it would take me a lot more than a few nights to learn about cars. Also, I just don't care enough. Also, he probably isn't really ripping me off considering he's still cheaper than the prior mechanics. So, that's mechanic fees. My car rego, nothing I can do about that. I gotta pay whatever the government makes me. I can't register my car in a cheaper state or use a VPN and register my car in a cheaper country since I'm driving in Victoria, Australia. Third-party insurance, I only get third-party in case I destroy someone else's Lamborghini, even though there's like none of them in my area. No one really has that kind of money. And even if they do, they spend it on other shit like a new jet ski or a new boat or a big giant fucking 4-wheel drive so they can go for a drive in the Aussie outback. So I cover my ass for destroying someone else's car, but I don't cover my own car. Why? Because the insurance payments aren't worth it. I've never even had a minor accident in my life. Pretty impressive considering how much I drive and the fact that I'm part Asian.
How much signal I need to cut across 8 lane? None? I turn now. Good luck, everybody else.
If I had paid for the full comprehensive insurance ever since I got insurance for my car, that would have totaled well over $15,000 in that time. That's enough for a new car on its own. So I only get third party. I did some shopping and found a good-as deal, $383 for third party, cheaper than what my current insurance provider was going to provide, and cheaper than another one I had initially signed up for. It pays to shop around for new insurance, especially considering companies generally will try and squeeze their current customers for their loyalty, as anyone who's worked in insurance can tell you. Discounts for new members only. Our current members can go fuck themselves. Next, aesthetics. It includes everything gym and appearance related like protein powder. Actually, it doesn't include gym. I've got that separately. So it includes everything appearance related like protein powder, CBD oil for falling asleep faster, supplements, notably taurine. I may or may not explain why I'm supplementing with that in the future, but it's only temporary. But for the sake of this video, it's another expense category that may or may not be added to. I've already purchased that and it's already in my pantry. It's unlikely I'd need more than what I have, but I left a line item in here just in case. I may also get a vitamin D supplement. I didn't need any this year since we had a lot more sun than usual. Although I do live in Australia, which to my knowledge is known for good weather globally, that's not the case in Victoria at least. Well, specifically not around Melbourne-ish suburbs. It's pretty grey most of the year, so if we get a very grey autumn/winter, I will probably supplement vitamin D, depends on what my blood work shows. Even then, vitamin D is fat-soluble, so it stays in your system much longer than water-soluble vitamins/minerals. So I could have enough stockpiled in my body to the point where I don't need to supplement it. Ideally, just have a constant stream of sunlight, but I'll see what my blood work says. The point is, I have a line item here for supplements, but chances are this will total $0 for the year. Also, no, I don't take creatine. Salt serves basically the same purpose from what I've read, and although creatine is cheap, salt is even cheaper. If you want to know more about these fitness/nutrition tidbits, you're in luck. I already have 2 videos that go over a lot of what I know about this. It's not everything I know about this, but it's probably everything that's relevant to you as the audience. I know heaps of other random useless shit and heaps of other pretty useful shit, but not as useful as what I've already said on this channel before. I also have my gym membership listed here too. I usually suspend this whenever I'm on exam hiatus, but I'll have no exam hiatuses since I'm done with exams now. But who knows? Maybe I'll just want a break here and there, so I'll suspend the membership. It saves me like $18.61 in a week, which isn't much, but that's like several cans of tuna that I'm saving. All these little money hacks add up. I do have a home gym that honestly could work just fine. Would save me almost $1,000 a year. But the gym has machines that are integral to my workout regime, and the gym also has heavier dumbbells than the ones at home. Also, the gym has gym girls, which my home gym does not. The girls at the gym are one of my only remaining hopes for finding a girlfriend without having to resort to dating apps. But in that case, I'd have to talk to women, and I'm scared of that, like most gym bros are. Next categories here, all colored in orange. I suppose it's kind of general stuff. I have 2 phones, an iPhone and a Samsung, each with their own plan. I was using this method of switching phone plans every few months, since some providers give you 50% off for a few months before you go back to the usual price. However, the administrative burden / time spent on cancelling a phone plan, then ordering a new one, installing a new SIM, it isn't really worth the extra like $10 to $12 you save for a few months. It takes me well over half an hour all up switching SIMs, cancelling SIMs, ordering new ones, and at worst I make around $17-ish in half an hour, and that's on a Saturday at my wagey job. Every other day is more like 21-ish per half hour, so the time spent doing this isn't worth it. But it's still cheaper than years ago. Years ago, I was paying $123 per month for 2 phone plans because I was overpaying for data I wasn't using / stuck with a phone provider that I had been with since 2016 because loyalty doesn't pay. So I do think looking at other phone providers is a good idea to save money, but switching SIMs every few months probably isn't worth the extra effort. Apple storage, I have too much shit on my phone, can't handle it.
They can't handle it. Trying to take me out to dinner, I cancel it.
So got to pay like $5 per month so my phone doesn't implode with trying to hold too much data. Spotify, this will be $0 because I have YouTube Premium, which I'll talk about later, but I included it here since most people will have this on their budget list. Netflix, same thing in terms of a $0 payment. I only paid for 2 months of Netflix in like 2020 or something, and that was so I can watch The Last Dance. Great documentary, but Lapuki is still the GOAT. But yeah, no entertainment streaming for me. When you work 7 days a week, spend 10 plus hours driving per week, and have gym, you're not left with much spare time. And that spare time I use on stock trading / YouTube anyway. I used to spend a lot on study, but thankfully, I'm done with that chapter in my life. Fines, only had 1 speeding fine in February of 2021, but I left this here as an idea for budgets and whatnot. Maybe some of you speedsters get these frequently, or maybe you realize it's cheaper to rack up fines every now and then as opposed to having to pay for a ticket each time. I'm referring to public transport here. I'm not kidding here. I literally had a friend back in uni who did the math. He'd commute to Melbourne via train every weekday for uni, and he did the math. If he got 1 fine every 3 weeks for fare evading, that's still cheaper per year than actually paying for your train fare every time. So maybe this is a strategy for you. Public transport fines are cheaper than actually paying for it over time. Who knows? But this isn't relevant to me since I don't take public transport. There isn't much public transport in my region regardless. But yeah, the fines section, maybe cut back on speeding, cut back on trying to gun red lights. It could save you a bit of money, even if it costs you a bit of extra time. And this isn't also to mention the whole safety thing of not gunning red lights or speeding. Dating apps, this will most likely be blank for this year, but I added it here since this is a line item for some people. I may consider the paid version of some apps since I know that gets you more matches, but I'd only really do that for the sake of a YouTube video. So if I don't feel it's necessary, I won't pay for it, but we'll see. Private health, so I don't actually need it. I only have this to avoid a higher tax bill. For this upcoming year, it's still probably cheaper overall to pay the extra tax, but I don't know for sure at this point. But if I had a taxable income of even $5,000 more, this private health insurance would certainly be cheaper. I have asked the private healthcare company if they offer basic dental with a certain plan, which would work out cheaper, $190 extra per year to cover the dental. Meanwhile, my dental checkups cost about that, and I have 2 of them a year. So chances are my private healthcare could go up, but it means my dental costs get culled to zero. So for the tax bill, here in Australia, if your taxable income is over 93 grand for singles, like me, sad reacts in the chat, you basically have to pay extra towards our healthcare system. Tax the rich, huh? They already are doing that. Now, my taxable income will probably be over this next year. My actual income is, but I have a shitload of deductions on standby. I'm not sharing this for free since this is one of my secret weapons, but these will bring down my taxable income, but it still may be over 93 grand, so I'd have to pay the Medicare levy surcharge. But you can avoid this if you have private health insurance. I don't need it, but eventually, as in maybe literally next financial year, it'll be cheaper to pay for this as opposed to paying a larger tax bill. Physio/Cairo, the capital of Egypt, this is another common cost/investment into your body for many people. As a seasoned gym rat/qualified personal trainer, I know enough about the body to fix any issues myself, or do the appropriate self-care myself so I don't have to pay for them. My friend has no current injuries, but he swears by going to the chiro constantly. Not sure why. Maybe he does have an existing injury that he doesn't acknowledge is an injury, but for me, since I have no major injuries, this cost is $0. Many people spend a lot on this since they don't take care of their bodies, so they use physios/chiros as a temporary band-aid to fix their problems, which is fine. These people are skilled in their own fields. It just so happens, before my stock market/YouTube/real estate grind, I was on the pure gym grind. So I spent countless of hours in the realm of fitness. So I know heaps about this kind of shit. My self-study/knowledge has saved me a lot of money by doing health stuff myself instead of paying others. You could also lump a line in here for like personal training. I know that's a pretty common one with a lot of these budget type videos. But again, most of those budget/money type videos are from people who are only really versed in money/whatever career they're in. They're not like a hybrid gym rat like me. Social events, this will be interesting. I'll track how much I spend on dinners/social events this upcoming year. And gifts refers to birthday presents really. Again, will be interesting to see how much I give out this upcoming year. I only gave out $50 in 2024 for a very recent birthday at the time of recording. And she was actually like really, I guess, happy about the gift. I thought that was kind of a standard, like I gave her $50. I thought that was a standard gift for a 21st, but I don't know, I guess a lot of people who were at the party didn't give her anything. I know, I gave her sister $50 for her older sister's 21st that I went 2 years ago, so I couldn't get away with not giving her a gift. I would have given her the gift regardless, but yeah, the point is I only gave her $50 in birthday gifts this year. I mean, that was the only birthday I went to, because most of my like wagey job friends are like 17, 18, 19, and you wouldn't really get invited to those parties as a 28-year-old. And the rest of my friends who are around my age don't have like a birthday for their 26th or something. So I don't really expect to be giving out much in gifts for this next year unless a bunch of birthdays pop up out of nowhere, but either way, we'll track this and see how much I spend. Next category, YouTube stuff. So YouTube Premium, I used to have it paid in Argentina, but they've cracked down on that now. So now I got to try and find another country. I'm looking at India. We'll see if they allow this. So what I spend here will depend on if I can get away with it in another country or not. Okay, update actually. So India blocks you from using a VPN for YouTube Premium. So does Argentina, which is what I had been using for almost 4 years. So does South Africa. So do Asian countries. So does Turkey. Ukraine and Romania still allow this. You can use a VPN to get YouTube Premium cheaper. I've now gone with Romania. The conversion to Aussie dollars is cheaper than what Ukraine was offering. And I also got a student option too, which instead of 29 Lu per month, it's 18 Lu per month, which is around 6 Aussie bucks. Still more expensive than the $2 to $3 per month I was paying in Argentina, but still cheaper than the Aussie local rate, which is like $10.49 per month for a student. I got my CPA membership fee to pass as a student discount. Nice. Like, in their eyes, I am a student, like I'm a CPA student, and you do have to click like a registered entity, so you can't make it up. Like, they have a list of like all universities and shit, so you legitimately have to be a student, and then you need to upload like proof of your enrollment or something. So you can't really fake this, but I also kind of did, since I'm technically not a student anymore since I passed my exams. But shh, don't tell YouTube Premium that. They might charge me an extra like $4 a month or some shit. Every little bit helps. Also, they're being stingy on my ad revenue, so I'll be stingy on paying them for premium. Fair's fair, right? My YouTube brand, self-explanatory, the two main costs being thumbnails and editing software. We'll see how much I spend on this in this upcoming year. I was already tracking this, but not on the same sheet as everything else. I was using the free Windows software video editing software for a while, but there wasn't as much I could do with it, even though there's not much I do with my videos anyway. Also, it would randomly crash often, so that fucked up a lot of hours of work. So I switched to Premiere Pro. However, that costs like $379 each year to basically rent it. DaVinci Resolve has a one-off payment, but it also has a free version, which I may just use instead. So this will be a nice cut to my costs here. I'll decide what I want to do, but I am not using Premiere Pro next year. Not worth the money, and my video style doesn't require flashy edits anyway. Most channels don't. Most girly type finance videos are just them talking to the camera, not many edits. Recently there have been some COD YouTubers who just overlay them playing video games whilst talking about life stuff. Again, no real fancy edits here. I know a lot of people only listen to my content anyway, so super fancy edits aren't really necessary. And again, not really suited to my style of content either. Work clothes, self-explanatory. I already spent what I need to, I think, in the past 6 months, so I doubt there'll be anything in this category next year. Although I did lose my Woolies jumper the other day, so I may need to buy a new one. I have like the t-shirt, but I don't have the long sleeve jumper, so unless I want to have the guns showing year round, which I kind of like hiding them sometimes, I'll have to buy a long sleeve jumper. Stock investments. I may put more to this next year, I don't know. Since the more money in stocks, the less I have in my mortgage offset account, which is where I want most of my money for 2025 to reduce as much interest as possible before my loan gets larger. But I have this listed here just in case I do want to use it. TradingView, so I already purchased this during the Black Friday sales. The days stack on top of each other, so you pay for 365 days in an annual plan, but you can also buy another year, so you'd have 730 days. So I have about 580-ish now, I think. So if there's another really good sale on next year, which there probably will be, I'll stack another 365 days for my plan. Mortgage repayments, self-explanatory. I'll be paying the minimum, then pouring the rest of my money in an offset account. Rent, this will be $0. I live at home with my parents. Yes, I'm 28 and I'm still living at home. I already made a video on this topic. But I added it here since most budgeting templates / examples you see have a rent payment. You can have rent and a mortgage. It's called rent vesting. A lot of people in more expensive areas like Sydney do this. They rent in Sydney, but buy property elsewhere. The common playbook in Australia for the past 3 years was rent in Sydney, where all the high incomes are, then use those high incomes to buy cheap real estate, which has been in Perth. Ask any Aussie real estate investor that. They can vouch for this. Tax payments, just a one-off. That being my tax bill I mentioned in my net worth videos. But it's yet another big chunk of money that'll disappear from my account this year. Travel / holiday. Chances are there'll be something in here in February when I go on a family holiday. I doubt I'd want to spend the entire time with my family. If I do, they'd pay for everything, but I will want to do some stuff on my own, or specifically with my cousins. So I'll pay for it on my own. But without this, my travel expense for the year is $0. I have no plans on going anywhere for a holiday until my real estate has been secured. Not totally paid off, just more secure. Haircuts, this is another common spend for many people's budgets. Mine is $0. I've cut my own hair for years. It's a nice way to save on some coinage. Yes, my hair isn't as neat as it could be, but mine grows back so fast I need to go back every 3 to 4 weeks to get it fixed. Plus, the messy look kinda suits me, but I do know that most people spend several $100 per year on haircuts. You could also be bald. That helps save money on haircuts. Then lastly, miscellaneous purchases. Obviously, this is here to encapsulate anything that's not listed in the rest of this sheet. So that's it, my new budget sheet for 2025. Okay, so what about the income? Can't have a budget without an income. So here's my income sheet, far less sophisticated than my expenses, since there's way more to spend my money on as opposed to money coming in. I did have 15 income streams mentioned in a prior video, but some of them aren't up and running yet, like rental income or sponsors, and some are unreliable, / I likely won't. Fuck! Mosquito bit me, cunt. I'm recording this in my car with the windows open at night because it's too hot to have the windows up and I have nowhere else to record. Now, where was I? So some income streams aren't up and running yet, like rental income or sponsors, and some are unreliable, / I likely won't withdraw any profits I make from it and keep them in that account, like swing trading stocks or sports betting. The main 4 will be my 2 jobs, dividend payments from a company share plan for my supermarket job, and YouTube, since I'm actually getting money from that now. Some people include stuff like your gross pay, taxes, retirement fund payments, etc. I don't. The retirement fund benefit I see in my net worth calculations, not my cash flow calculations. And my taxes are what they are for now. I have a separate tax document and tax plan to deal with the taxes later. Fuck, another one bit me. Honestly, the things I do for YouTube, getting my blood drained alive for the sake of a YouTube video. Anyway, the figures listed in this budget will be purely for the actual cash that hits my account. So, simple formula here. The total is the sum of the 4 cells above. The total outflow feeds from the expenses Excel sheet, and then leftover for offset is the cash coming in versus expenses. Simple. Leftover for offset is another way of saying leftover for the bank account. However, I have 2 bank accounts set as offsets, which reduces the interest amount on my home loan. So my money is working for me in an offset account. My rate is 5.94%, which is the lowest on the market. Most people only manage to find a rate of about 6.09%. I found this due to my savvy money skills and interacting with the bank that I go to each week for my job. So in order to make it a more worthwhile investment to invest my money instead of basically reducing a debt balance, you'd have to ensure a return of 8.49% in stocks. This is because if you sell stocks, they're taxed, and my marginal tax rate is about 30%. So you need to divide 5.94 by 0.7 to account for the 0.3, the 30% tax rate. You do have the CGT discount, so if I sold $10,000 worth of stock, I only pay tax on 5,000 of that. But why sell stocks? Isn't the idea to hold for the long term? If that's the case, why sell? Also, you'd have to guarantee a return of 8.49% at least to make it a better idea to invest. Of course, you can get more, but you can also do worse. Now, with my stock trading indicators and experience, I'd have no issues ensuring a return higher than 8.49%, but that strategy still needs refining. And now that CPA is done, I'll have way more time to refine this, but I still need to spend 2025 refining this. And I already plan to purely stockpile cash in my offset account in 2025 regardless. But generally, it's a better idea just to reduce your liability instead of trying to increase your assets when it comes to repaying a mortgage versus investing in stocks. You can't really plan ahead since there's too many future variables with stocks. Some analyst relating to some real estate investment related sussing I was doing did some data testing that showed something similar, except it was debt recycling versus paying down a loan, not putting money in an offset versus stocks, but the principle is the same. In many instances, people were better off just reducing their liability. It resulted in more money.
Pretty smart, but then you go to year 22 and you sit there and you're starting to potentially regret the decisions you made. So I look at it and I say, well, I guess the important thing is figuring out the strategy and sticking to the strategy.
But either way, in 2025, most of my spare money will be going to reducing the amount of interest I owe on my mortgage. Now, what most people do here, or would do here, is put some rough figures in relating to what they expect to spend in the upcoming year. I won't be going into an in-depth forecast of what I expect to spend this year. I do that enough at my accounting job, and the reason is because I don't know how much my mortgage repayments will be. When my loan for the actual building of my house comes in, my current mortgage will get larger, and the minimum repayments will go up. I have no idea what this will be because I don't know what the bank will accept as a down payment, nor do I know exactly how much gets added to my loan at what points in the year, since when you do a home build, like a new one, you slowly get lent the money. It doesn't hit you all at once and you start repaying the entire amount from the first day they start building. Also, I don't know when I will be buying what grocery items. I'll only buy dark chocolate and Monster energy drinks when they're on special. When will they have specials? I don't know. Also, depending on what my calorie/gym goals are at the time, will depend on what type of beef I buy. Lean beef mince is about $15.50 per kilo. Full-fat beef mince is $11 per kilo. If I want to stay leaner for longer, I'll be buying more lean beef mince. If I want to save money/bulk again, I'll buy the cheaper mince. As for income, I don't know how much I'll get in dividends. It's not a lot though, like maybe around $45 to $50 twice a year. And who knows what I'll get from YouTube. My pay from my office gig will stay mostly the same. I get paid more whenever I take annual leave though, so in pay periods I take off, I get paid slightly more due to a 17% annual leave loading, and my wagey job also kinda stays the same. However, there's the chance I can do extra shifts after my office job some nights. I was doing these around Christmas, but it could be a thing going forward. As much as I don't want to interrupt my gym/YouTube nights, the extra $100-ish I can make working after work is a nice little bonus. And since I don't have my CPA studies anymore, I can easily make up for lost gym/YouTube time later. Since I don't have any more hiatuses, which involve a lot of time off YouTube and gym. So maybe whatever I project for the wagey income is wrong. I also don't know what raises I'll get either. Nothing is certain at the rat race job, and we are getting something from the wagey job, but it depends on what the government mandates though. Because my income goes up whenever they raise the minimum wage, which I have no idea how much that's going to go up by. But here is a very rough example of what I expect my cash flow to look like. Again, very brief example, the rat race gig pays fortnightly, so I took my rough after-tax and after-retirement fund payments and divided by 2. And I also have the $549 each week net from the wagey job. I pay more tax than I should at the office and less tax than I should at retail. I talked about this in a prior video on the benefits of a second job. I actually kind of had 2 videos on the topic. And $310 per week roughly in expenses. Most weeks will be lower, but when I have a mortgage repayment or a Botox appointment, etc., those will drag the average costs per week up. Again, a rough example, but you can see I am clearly left with a nice surplus of cash each week. By cutting down my expenses, example, shopping around for cheaper insurance, VPN for cheaper subscriptions, bulk buying grocery items like dark chocolate and energy drinks when they're on special, fueling up at the cheapest fuel station, cutting my own hair, not getting any speeding/red light fines, being healthy and understanding human anatomy so you don't injure your spine/muscles/tendons and ligaments so you don't have to fork out money on physio/chiro, private health insurance to cut your tax bills/get free dental, changing video editing software/using free ones instead, coupled with working another job, all of these combine to create a solid safety net for your finances. So, what does your budget for 2025 look like? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. That is all.